You're on.
Good evening, everybody. It is Wednesday, March 20th, 6:44. We're going to call the regular council meeting for the Johnstown City Council to order. Ms. Monroe?
Mayor Don Barnard.
Here.
Tiffany Hollis.
Here.
Brian Green.
Here.
Jeff Barr. Wes Coble.
Here.
Dave Seeling.
Here.
Bob Orsini.
Here. Before we get to invocation, I want to state Father Smith will be leaving Johnstown and be going to Portsmouth, correct?
Soda County.
And that is, I've never dealt with a Catholic priest, and he and I have developed a pretty cool relationship, and I'm very thankful for him to be able to come and do this. We've had some good talks, so I really appreciate you and want to wish you good luck. You'll be leaving next month, is that right?
September.
Oh, September, I thought it was April. Okay, so we got you again then.
Yep.
Okay. So if we could please stand for the invocation.
Let us pray. God, our loving Father, we gather today in your name, and we ask you to continue to bless each of us in the work you have called us to do on behalf of the people of Johnstown. We thank you for being a God of love who is with us now. You never leave us or forsake us. Your grace has brought us safe thus far, and your grace will lead us home. We thank you for making each of us, every citizen of this city, in your image, with dignity and infinite worth. We thank you for the calling you have given every one of us to be good stewards to your creation, to love our neighbors as ourselves. We thank you tonight, God, for these your servants, our mayor, our city council, our city staff, and our first responders. We give thanks for the way of service they have chosen to take up on behalf of all of us. Allow our hearts to be open to listen to your word and respond to your will. Guide our conversation for the benefit of the people of Johnstown and allow us to be ready and willing to listen to their needs. We pray for wisdom, for strength, for courage to do what is right and good for all citizens. May we put the interests of others above our own. May we act with love for the common good. May we bring good neighbors. May we be good neighbors, recognizing your image in every person here. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
You may please be seated. Tonight, once again, in honor of Women's History Month, we are having the local Girl Scout troop lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you ladies would like to come up. If we could introduce each of them.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the invitation for us to participate this evening. So we are Troop 7700. We actually have 23 members, so this is just a small little number of us. But I'm Bethany King, one of our leaders.
My name is Shannon King. My name is Morgan. Avery Strasser. My name is Reese.
So we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and after that, if you guys could sit in the front row just for a minute afterwards, and we're going to have an award in a minute. I want you guys to see something, okay? So please stand for the pledge.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And you got teary-eyed again.
I know.
Okay, so we're going to move to the approval of the agenda. Is there any deletions or additions to this agenda that you guys would like to make? Hearing none, I make a motion that we accept the agenda as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, so tonight we're going to honor somebody, and it's Women's History Month, so it's even cooler. So if we could have Officer Deidre Fife come up. So Officer Fife, she's kind of got a special skill. She can speak English and Spanish. And did you guys know that on June 10th last year, there was a drowning? And she was able to go and help. And the family, they only speak Spanish. And so she was able to interpret and kind of help the situation. So Sheriff Randy Thorpe wanted to present her with the Meritorious Letter of Commendation for her awesome service.
I'd also like to present our award to Officer Mark Lopez.
He's been with our department for about 1.5 years now, and his full year of service, the officers decided that they would vote for him to be the Officer of the Year. With this, there was comments that were made about Officer Lopez, and I'm going to read them now. He is a productive and always willing to help. He has a positive attitude, and he represents the department in a positive light and engages well with the community. His reading to the elementary for books and badges, and eagerness of traffic enforcement, and mentoring younger officers. So with that award, he was presented with the plaque. Here's his plaque, so everybody can see it. And also his certificate that she's getting this evening. With that, it's in recognition of your superior and continuing excellence in serving and protecting the community of Johnstown, Ohio. Your outstanding contributions to the department, your unwavering commitment to traffic enforcement and community engagement, your positivity throughout the year did not go unnoticed. This is yours. So, would you like to get a picture with the mayor? Sure. And myself, maybe? Is that something we can do? Officer Hatfield or Sergeant Hatfield?
Good job. Let me get all the ways from the photo bombing.
All right.
Thank you, ladies, for coming again.
Matters not on the agenda. Do we have anything tonight, Ms. Monroe?
I don't have any speaker slips, no.
Anybody have any comments tonight for anything not on the agenda? Okay, we're going to move forward. Council committee reports. The first is planning and zoning. Their March 12th meeting was canceled. Their next,
What was it?
the last design.
Design review. We actually went over the idea of having a representative come and speak and give an update. But until we solidify that, you're going to have to suffer through my my long-winded recap. So there were two applications. One was a sign application that got tabled. I'm going to lean on Teresa right now. My mind is spacing. What was the other application?
The
It was
demolition of Castle Street House.
demolition of a house. That did get approved, but I commend the board. They did ask a tremendous amount of questions that were relative to that specific historic or non-historic house, and vetting through the process. I really think they did a really great job with how they handled that. So that one was approved.
Is
And
there a
just
time frame for that one?
for the demolition, I'd have to check. Approval was given. I think typically some of the actionable items through design review have a expiration date of about a year. I'm not sure if demolition is one of those. A big question that came up, and I'm sure you all are wondering the same thing, is will it be replaced with something? The answer to that from the applicant was no. A little bit more detailed, they said, not as long as I'm living. So just for the entertainment side of things, doesn't seem like that will be happening. It's just going to be turned back into green space, and the board made it very clear that any other provisions outside of that would have to go through a number of other variety of things in order to actually have any type of structure on that particular piece of property. So green space was what is going to happen there. All the remedy effects of anything that could possibly come up, saving some sidewalks that exist. So, like I said, they asked a lot of good questions whenever they went through that process. This is the first time that they've actually had to go through that.
And the applicant owns the neighboring property.
Correct. Great
And
point.
their green space is just going to be essentially
Yes.
additional yard.
I'll point out, Mr. Seelan was Councilman Seelan was able to join us for that meeting. So at the end of it, there was some conversations. I won't steal their thunder. There's been some conversations about how they would, or maybe some of them would like to come in and discuss some things with council at a council meeting, just to get some ideas generated. So I won't dive too much into that. It's really their baby. So I'll leave it at that.
And we did have a member resignation.
We did have a resignation of one of the board members, Josh Harrison, and Teresa sent out an email. I added to it, and then Teresa quickly corrected me, my short memory. I went through the current code as it exists on our website. She mentioned that, hey, we did do an ordinance change to that. So you can have 5 or you can have 6, whatever your flavor is. So if you want to leave it at 5, you can do that. Or if you're going to signal to Teresa to look for another applicant, we can do that as well. So something for you all to think about. And then probably in the near term, we need to have a conversation what we want to do moving forward.
Okay, but for right now, they're fine with 5.
If you're fine with 5.
I think 5's the way to go. It moves them back to an odd number instead of an even number that they had. I think that'll increase efficiency.
If we have the ordinance that says 6, are we required to fill it to 6? Or is that just the most we can have then?
I think you should probably change the ordinance back to 5, which isn't easy.
Okay, okay.
If you would just
Because I
to,
think it says shall.
and we can handle that right now. That, not the ordinance, but if that is an indication that you would like us to do, we can have that prepared for next council meeting.
You guys good with that? Go ahead. I mean, we only went to 6 because we had 2 outstanding candidates, so.
We may be.
The only reservation I would add is feedback from that specific committee that's different than that. If they would say, hey, we
Yeah.
would like to have 6,
Yeah, I
I'd
agree.
like to hear that.
The rumor I heard was that they are, but
And I was obviously there. Dave was there as well. I would say they were fine with 5. That was the reaction I got from the conversation.
Okay, if we can get it made then.
Okay.
Thank you. Finance, our meeting tonight was canceled. We'll be meeting at April 2nd at 5 PM in the administrative conference room. Letting everybody know now who's watching, who will be watching, we will be discussing a possible tax increase. So if you're interested or have thoughts on that, please come. Please come share them. We would love to hear your thoughts, ideas. So that will be on April 2nd. Safety and Service, they'll be meeting on 4/2 on April.
I would just say, I like the addition of some visuals. Again, it helps identify, it helps to easier identify, the trends that we have. If we're seeing a rise and drop, obviously, we're going to have some drops in, trends, whether it's related to weather or the pickup of traffic. But again, I do like the ability to have a quicker process or method of identifying, what we're seeing going on in the city. So definitely a good add.
Yeah, thank you for that. I tried to incorporate more into one page, but it was 12 months, and then I decided to put it down to 6, and I could get 6 to a page. So hopefully it wasn't too much, but I thought it was something different that I could add to the report, and I appreciate your feedback.
Why did business checks and house checks go up so much?
So essentially, I was gonna bring that up. So the increase is due to business checks, not going into, CAD system. So essentially, they're being checked. They're just not being inputted into our CAD. It's not an easy process to just go through and type in the business, find the address. I mean, there's a lot more to it, especially whenever you get into a shopping center. So, Khyber Run Shopping Center, for instance, from the restaurant to Great Clips, it would be, I'm just guessing, somewhere around 7 or 8 businesses there. You would have to input each address into that, when really it would only take you 20 seconds to check your doors on the front, check your doors on the back, less than a minute. But if you do it with the CAD system, it's taking you longer, but it is an input, and I requested that third shift start doing that. Same with business checks. I requested that every shift start doing the business checks, or I'm sorry, the same with the residential home checks. I requested that every shift do those. Instead of just here and there getting them done, I want everybody doing it every shift. So those numbers grew instead of.
So it's something they've always been doing, but now we're just logging it.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's why you saw the increase. You're gonna see the increase in officer initiated 50 business checks tonight, or did they do 20? Ultimately, it's gonna come down to their availability for their shift. If they're on calls, they're not gonna get as many business checks in. But if they don't have a lot of call volume at night, then they would have a lot more. It's just depending on their call volume, or how long they're on a call.
And the house checks are exactly what? Are they when people on
So
vacation?
essentially, a house check is if somebody wants to go on a vacation and it's an extended period of time, or just over the weekend. They provide us with the information on our website, they can do it there, and they can request that we go check on their house while they're gone. So essentially, we walk their house, we get out, we pull the door, check the garage door, any type of mail that might be laying in the driveway, or newspapers or whatever, laying in the driveway, we'll pick them up, put them on the porch, kind of hide them away from the public to show that, you know, they don't have 10 newspapers laying in their driveway to show that they're not there. Those kind of things, and we're doing that every shift. Instead of just day shift doing it or second shift here and there doing it, so it was something that I wanted to incorporate, so everybody's doing it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Chief, other agency assists seems to have popped.
Yeah, so with other agency assists, Megan is the one that essentially provides a lot of these statistics. That's something that she has done for a long time. I don't know if you guys remember, any of the council members, what were on here, but whenever I took as interim chief, a lot of the numbers weren't able to be provided. That's because the right person wasn't being requested to provide them, which is Administrative Assistant Megan Barnes. She's the one that provides our statistics. And with that, we found that this new system, there's a lot of drop downs. So it's not just assists from the county or assisting to the county, Licking County Sheriffs. It would be assisting Plain Township, assisting Licking County, Utica. We do go to Utica at times if they ask us. And same with like Croton or Alexandria if they were to have us. So all of those drop downs, she now has to check, and she didn't realize it at the time. So it is a newer system. We've been on for about a year now, but ultimately it's something that she noticed and she's corrected it, and it'll be probably about the same every month.
So this
That
is,
and Licking County Sheriff's Office is, they're down about somewhere around 14 to 20 deputies.
that's what I'm getting at. I was, if this is a reporting situation, then that means your functionality isn't necessarily impacted.
If county is not in our area and they're not able to get to their calls, could have been an assault. And there was, at that time, we had 2 officers on that call. There ended up being an injury accident where a motorcycle struck a mailbox. We weren't able to get
Mailbox,
there, then we
we
can't
saw.
get there.
Yeah.
We can't leave a resident that's
I
going
got
to
it
be
fixed.
physically harmed by somebody.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, is when we start looking at assessment of the size of the force and
Yeah.
asset allocation, that these statistical piece of information will help us out a great deal, so I'm glad they're getting reported.
Okay.
I gave you a long answer.
No, that's all good.
Okay. Anybody else have questions for the chief? Okay, moving on. Public hearings of legislation. Our first is ordinance 08-2024, an ordinance to amend Chapter 1187 of the City of Johnstown Codified Ordinances. I believe this is the solar panel discussion, correct, Joe?
Correct.
Would you like to explain any more?
We went over it last time, so I'll vet any questions that you may have in simplicity terms. We're taking it from a minor environmental change to a major environmental change. That way it gets vetted through the board, the design review board, rather than internally through, right now, myself.
Okay. Any questions from council? Okay, this is open for the public, if the public would like to speak on this issue. Hearing none, I'll move forward. Does council desire to take any action on this item?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 08-2024 as written.
Real second.
Bob Orsini,
Yes.
Ryan Green,
In the words of our missing man here, affirm.
Tribute, Tiffany Hollis,
Yes.
Mayor Barnard,
Yes.
Wes Coble,
Yes.
Dave Sealand.
Yes.
Okay. Next item is the second reading of ordinance 09-2024, an ordinance to amend Chapter 1177 of the City of Johnstown's Codified Ordinances. Mr. Stainert, this is about signs.
Correct. This was also introduced last time. I'll give you the highlight reel on this. Essentially, we've had a reoccurring issue that has required a variance for multiple signs to be put on a multi-tenant building. There was a request to MKSK to address this particular issue and give us some type of wording that, I'll emphasize this, in the short term, this will probably be functional, but knowing the long term, we'll probably want to have something a little bit more comprehensive as we work through some of the rewrites and work through a more comprehensive sign code. So, like I said, this is a moment, not the entire piece of it, but because we are having multiple variances over the last year, I think we've had 3 variances. Each time the variance has been granted, and when you have that situation occur, it's usually an indication that something needs to happen in your sign code to be reflective of what's happening in these variance situations. This document hopefully takes care of that.
It's good to see the process working correctly, so. Does council have any questions or comments on this item? Hearing none, I'll open it to the public. Does the public have anything they would like to discuss on this ordinance? Hearing none, what is council's desire to do with this item?
Making a motion to approve is written.
Second.
Go ahead.
Brian Green,
Yes.
Tiffany Hollis,
Yes.
Mayor Barnard,
Yes.
Wes Coble,
Yes.
Dave Seeland,
Yes.
Bob Orsini.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to move to a new item, something we don't commonly have. Public hearing on the establishment of the Johnstown New Community Authority. Our public notice of this. We want to turn it over to you, Sean, or?
You can, and then I made just, this particular first piece, what we're walking through is there's a procedural process that needs to happen, that we have to follow through just the Ohio legislature, the rules that are in place. So this is one of those situations from a public hearing, it has to happen within so many days, the initiation of it. So that is the action that's happening tonight. We do have a legal representative in the room that is available. I also want to mention that we did have a work session on Monday that we went through and did a deeper dive on a couple different economic development incentives. This is just another tool that's being implemented by the city of Johnstown to really take advantage of some of the revenues that can be generated through some of these new developments. I also want to emphasize a lot of the short-term and midterm revenues that are created are meant to go towards the infrastructure for the improvements happening in that area. The long-term effects of this then can be folded back into some other provisions that exist in Johnstown. And there's a variety of examples that have been done throughout other communities throughout Central Ohio, but I hesitate to emphasize those because those are, like I said, the long-term. The short-term is to really energize our economic development opportunity, and utilizing these dollars will do that in that specific region. So, like I said, that's where I want to leave the emphasis, is we're building an engine that will start to run itself, and this is another tool that has been given to us that we're implementing that will hopefully make that a success. And I'll try to answer any questions. Like I said, I can also defer to, there's a legal individual in the room that's also representing a partner in this development that's happening out on the 400 acres. And I would be remiss if I didn't say he.
Do we want to go to him when we do the ordinance?
I think you can. You can do this in the public notice, and this is really encapsulating 13 and 14 on your action items. And I'm stealing some of the thunder from 14, but that way I don't have to speak at 14. And with that, I'll do somewhat of an introduction. Mr. Greg Stipe, sometimes you say they wrote the book on it. He literally wrote the book on the NCAs. He was the one that implemented this at the state of Ohio when it first became about. So he literally wrote it. So we have a great resource here. If you have any questions, our legal counsel has also reviewed this and has given the green light. He is available through a phone call tonight if there is any questions that you feel more comfortable asking our legal counsel. But I can tell you through work session on Monday, Emmett gave us a green light that this is a productive thing for Johnstown to move forward on.
Sir?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, as Mr. Standard mentioned, this public hearing is in satisfactory of the statutory procedure under state law for the creation of a new community authority. The first step was for council in February to accept the developer's petition for the creation of the new community authority. Then there is a requirement that a public hearing be held no sooner than 30 days or no later than 45 days after the acceptance of the petition. So comment to be had on the new community authority. If there is, take it, obviously. If not, close the public hearing and have that reflected in council's minutes so that we have the official record of satisfying this requirement of state law. And then, then the other item on your agenda is a first reading of the ordinance that council would then pass, not tonight, but would then pass to create, to formally approve the creation of the community authority. And that was submitted to you and set up for 2 readings so that nobody felt that this was an unduly rushed process. So happy to answer any questions you may have.
Does council have any questions for Mr. Stipe? Nope. Thank you, sir. Okay, I'd like to note that the notice of public hearing was published in the Newark Advocate on February 28th, March 6th, and March 13th of 2024. We're going to go ahead and note that the public hearing is open. Does any citizens or anyone have any comment on this public hearing? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing, and therefore we are in compliance with the state statute.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So we will go ahead and move to introduction of legislation, ordinance 11-2024. This is an ordinance to find that the creation of the Johnstown New Community Authority will be conducive to the public health, safety, convenience, and welfare, and is intended to result in the development of a new community, to declare the authority to be organized in a body, politic, and corporate, to define the boundary of that authority's new community district, to provide the method of appointing members to that authority's board of trustees, and to fix the surety for those trustees' bonds, and to declare an emergency. This is the first reading of this ordinance. Does council have any questions or comments on this item?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
It's going to be critical for me to have the empirical data of the methodology and the process of where we came with the millage, where the cost predictions are this ordinance.
Understood.
And you'll be able to get that for us in the next?
Understood, and my understanding is that that has been, well, I know I provided that to your legal counsel, and I believe that has been shared by your legal counsel with your administrative folks.
Okay.
And I'll react to that. So yes, Emmett came into possession of that email, and we got it yesterday or Monday. Reviewing it at this time, what I would say is if you would like to do a deep dive into that, you're more than welcome to come into the office. It probably wouldn't be appropriate to kind of dive into the complexity of that document in a public session. If you want to work through it in finance, whatever your flavor is, you let me know. But I want to be respectful of the cadence that we typically have in a council meeting, and not saturate an entire council meeting with working through that. But anybody that wants to go through that process, you are more than welcome to come in, be a part of that, understanding it. But we'll be working through that over the next 2 weeks in conjunction with New Albany Company as we work towards the numbers and knowing the debt service we have to hit, and then what improvements are going to be necessary and the timing and the sequencing of those as they come online for those necessary improvements. So, like I said, anybody that wants to come in, you're more than welcome. And then if you want to have a special work session, we could probably do that as well. Whatever your flavor is, we'll accommodate best we can. I'm signing Jamie up for a lot of things. Hopefully he doesn't mind. So,
Thoughts on that, Bob?
he didn't say no.
Once staff gets time to digest it and kind of review it, let's get a date on the calendar, and we can do it in finance.
Yeah.
Even though I'd want to have a gap between finance and the meeting. They're too close. We may run, that window's too tight for me. We'll just schedule a date maybe the week after next, right? Because that gives us another week until council. So a week to process it internally in-house, and then a week for us to, the finance committee or whoever wants to get involved, to kind of review it and see where things all play out. I'm not making any statement of accuracy or concern, just one of not knowing, one of ignorance to the data, and the seat requires that as part of the charge.
From a-
prudence and appropriate action on the part of the public body.
to work through a time right now. Staff will internally look at this probably tomorrow and Friday. Remember, this is a Wednesday, so we've lost a day already. And then addressing it next week, but in order to get it before that next council meeting, it would be necessary to probably schedule a meeting for next week at some point, and I'm not sure how that works into your scheduling, so I'm putting it out there.
Present the model.
It's on a Sunday at 7 o'clock in the morning.
I'll make breakfast.
Very good. Good deal.
Thank you, guys.
Gonna lead us in services. Yeah.
Okay. So that is the first reading. We will have the second reading and possible passage in 2 weeks. We are moving right along. We have other business. There's a couple items. We have one item on here that we've kind of set aside, and we're going to go down the row. Well, actually, not going to go down the row. We're going to start with Mr. Seelan on this. But I kind of tasked council members to decide what is Johnstown. There's been a lot of talk about we want to keep Johnstown, Johnstown. We want to, what is Johnstown? So we wanted to at least task council with, what is your definition of Johnstown? What do you think of when you see Johnstown? So for me, and I'll take the first one. For me, it's the town square. It is the festivals on the town square. To me, that is the most Americana thing that you can see when you think of Johnstown. And it's almost like a Hallmark movie at times. And to me, that perfectly defines Johnstown. It's that small town feel where you know your neighbors and you feel welcome. So that is what when I define what is Johnstown, it's that small town welcoming feel. Dave, if you want to go, or we can skip you and go to Bob. But I know you've done your homework, so.
I went I did a little bit different route, being a elected official. I've been actually pondering this and talking with this over a lot of family, family, faith, and friendships. So again, I'm kind of taking a couple of answers, kind of blending them in. So, family, family life, family style, small town atmosphere is what I'm seeing. And again, I hear a lot of passion, definitely. I hear about incredible relationships that are all centered around faith, family, and friendships. Everyone has really always answered one of those three, or a derivation of those three. But I also hear torn emotions, and I hear a lot of comments that, definitely exceeded 3 words, definitely exceeded 3, phrases. And but again, it points to the grittiness of the people that have lived here for so long, and me only living here for about 7 or 8 years now. I definitely experienced that too. We moved here for what Johnstown was and still is. But again, the biggest message I've had to the people that have had the torn emotions or some negative emotions is to dig in and be positive about it, because digging in and making a stand sometimes is counterproductive to the type of progress that we have going on around us. Working with that progress, diverting the progress helps make and keep Johnstown what it is. And there's been some good positive reactions to it. Some negative comments. Some people have really dug in heels, and I understand that and respect their desire to voice their opinion. But again, I do see the passion. I see the realization that we are going to need to move forward. I see some healing happening already. And like I said, I'll share that graphic there. So there's definitely you'll see a lot of a broad spectrum. And so I'll be sharing that later this week, along with some of the comments that I've gotten. But when I take a look at it, it's really revolved around family, whether it's the schools, JYA, the high school sports, everything that happens in and around the town square, everything up and down Main Street. It really revolves around family and friends. So that's what I've really come to see. And so I'll be sharing that and add to it as I get more answers.
Mr. Orsini?
Very similar to what Dave was saying, maybe not as detailed, but Johnstown, just like any community, is a reflection of the people that live there. And community is a way to sum that all up for the sake of discussion. But it's the full church parking lots on Sunday. It's the full football stadium for football Friday night and band night on Friday nights. It's the full soccer fields on Saturday mornings. It's people coming and going and passing being polite, being courteous. It's the children picking up the sticks in the neighbor's yards who are elderly and can't out and do it. You know, the army of kids walking up and down the street shoveling driveways. My neighbor that has a snowblower that snow blows the entire sidewalk for about as far as I can see every time it snows. I mean, that's what it is. And it's a mix of people. It's people that have been here for hundreds of years, people that have lived here for 20 years, people that are moving to town. Foundationally, we need to honor our past, and structurally, you can look and see what that is. It's the roof line in the downtown, it's the historic homes, but in feel and activity, it's going to be foundationally what all of us moved here for, and bridging that gap from there to where we go to the future, using it as a guideline to how we accept opportunities and pass on opportunities, so that in the future, we can have a stake in what we become. Controlled, managed, thoughtful, intentional activity is what will keep what I think everyone feels when they say Johnstown is there, without identifying an individual building or an individual aspect. The community will change with the people that live there. So we want the community to be inviting to the folks that are of similar mind, the people that currently live here and have come and gone over time. And that's it. I think as long as we're intentional and put our best effort forward, the community will continue as it was. It's not the way it was when I moved here 20 years ago, and it's not going to be the way it is today 20 years from now. Is it better or worse? Some yes, some no. And that's what progress and development and time changes all. So I'm not overly concerned about keeping our identity as long as we keep the core foundations that make this a community. Single high school, organized, collected sports activities for kids, and then the focus on faith that we have. We have more faith or more churches than bars, which is usually an exception for a town, which is a good thing for us.
Awesome. Mr. Cole?
So I've got several different thoughts I've been thinking about since we were tasked with this. Some of the ones that really come to mind when I first moved here, I felt welcomed into the community, for sure. And I know a lot of my neighbors on my street have also expressed the same feelings as well. I feel Johnstown is also generous. Very supportive, I think, of what goes on within our community as well. I feel a connection to town. I know some people might. I know there's been places I've lived in the past I didn't really feel that connection, but definitely when I moved here, my wife, myself, and daughter really feel the connection to town, especially with the schools. You know, I'm thrilled that my daughter's in the schools that we have here in town, and she's going to have the opportunities to partake of a lot of those, hopefully, extracurricular activities and all that stuff, the older she gets there. But, and then every time I hear John Mellencamp's Small Town song come on the radio, I again think of Johnstown. And just kind of makes me feel, you know, pride that a lot of what he says in that song, I kind of feel the same way as well. So.
Thank you. Ms. Hollis?
So, in an effort to keep myself contained, because I could go on for days about Johnstown, I just wrote like a little something. So to me, Johnstown is a proud generational community, deeply rooted in tradition, raised with rural values, grit, and tenacity, with a legacy of achievement and an undying fighting Johnny spirit. To me, Johnstown, past, present, and future, always has been and always will be the people and the infectious welcoming feeling of camaraderie. I think that pretty much sums up how I feel about Johnstown
Beautiful.
as a whole.
Thank you. Mr. Green?
One last on these is fun. What do you just say? Ditto?
Yeah.
You can.
No. I mean, for me, for this question, it's what you want out of it, right? It's what the person asking it wants out of it. So if you want to say, what is Johnstown? You want the essence of Johnstown, or do you want, what does Johnstown look like? I know for us, we're trying to craft a comprehensive plan. We're looking at zoning. We're looking at all kinds of aspects of what we want to get out of the city, because, you know, we're almost at like a second rebirth here, some people have said. So I know for me, I mean, any city it's its people, it's the time-honored traditions, There's a lot of aspects that make a city, and there's a lot of things that get you that feeling that you're coming for that city. And you got that downtown nostalgia there. You can't build that. You can't create that. That's something that just has to organically happen. That's a cool thing that we have that we can't let go. And when you ask these questions, it's hard for people to define. You say, what is Johnstown? Well, they may not know, but they know it when they see it. And that's what I hear from a lot of people is, well, I don't know, but I'll know it when I see it, right? So that's what you get a lot of.
Or what it's not.
Or what it's not.
Yeah.
You know what it is.
Tell
You
you
may
what
not
it's
know what it
not.
is, but you know what it's not. So I know when I look at this question, obviously I'm going to look at, just my mind. I'm on zoning. I look at architecture. I look at things like that. The people, the tradition, that stuff comes organically. The downtown atmosphere, that comes organically. Your fairs, your festivals, that comes organically. But, if we're here in a position where we're trying to create something that fosters these things, I start with that architecture. So we have a lot of classic historic architecture here, the buildings that are here, the people that were important to the history here who built them. I think you start looking at those and you make sure you don't lose the major aspects of that. Things of that nature. But when you ask me what Johnstown is, I say, the people and the traditions is really what I come to. And the feeling that you get with all of it.
Do any of you guys over there want to contribute? You don't have to, I'm just asking if you wanted to.
Not to put you on the spot.
No, just curious. I didn't want to ignore you, so.
I was asked a question, and I came up with quaint, friendly, and safe. We do live in a safe community. Like I said, we are shorthanded, but we still are a safe community. And I think that whenever you do move into a community, that's something that you think about, along with schools. And, for the people that have been up there that grew up here, you have those memories, you have the architecture, you have those areas that you went to, and you can create your area as Johnstown. Like you said, you played football there, but just being new to the area, that's what I think of. That's what wanted me to come here. And everybody was always friendly. I've never ran into anybody outside of this uniform that has been mean to me. So that is a plus.
Awesome.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I'll add to that a little bit, Chief. I can drop my 8-year-old daughter off at an event, watch her walk through the door, and feel perfectly comfortable that everyone inside's going to help her. I can let my 12-year-old walk down to the main square there from our house and know that if he runs into someone that's bad, he's going to pass 10 people that are good. It'll help him along the way. That's what we have.
It's pretty
And
awesome.
hopefully we can keep that.
So part of this exercise is, everybody says, okay, you drive, you see the white fences, it's New Albany. They've often asked, what is Johnstown? What's going to define Johnstown? How are you going to know when you hit Johnstown? Are we going to put black fences, black and white fences right against each other? And that's not the answer. And I want us to start defining what is Johnstown, to identify our identity. So if we wanted to create something that said, hey, you're in Johnstown now, what would that be? So this is just the first step of it, to figure out what we think it is. And I think based on what everybody is saying, it's the people. And I don't know how you make a fence of people, but it's the people. So I just think it's really interesting. So thank you all for your answers tonight. I had one other item for other business tonight. So a few weeks ago, we identified in a working session our goals that we want Mr. Stainer to focus on and that are our top priority. And he went through them, scored them, and he came up with primary goals and secondary goals. And I'm handing this out to you as a step. When we have meetings, when we have our committees and we meet, I know zoning's a little different, but our meetings should always focus on creating other work that's taken away from those goals. So it's something to keep in front of you to think about when we have these meetings. How can we reach these 5 goals? And then hopefully one of them comes off and we fill it with one of the secondary goals and keep moving until we get everything done, which will never happen, but at least we keep moving. So. Anybody else have any other business tonight they'd like to discuss? Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll make it quick for Teresa's benefit. I had a great conversation with the school district yesterday, just nothing broad or huge, but just in how they push their content out, a program called Restream. So I'm gonna take a quick look at that, see if it's, number one, first off, cost effective for our usage. It pushes to a couple different platforms, it provides captioning, might cut back a little bit of minute taking, hopefully. This Saturday is the American Legion Easter egg hunt. So at the Legion, 9:30 registration. The hunt starts at 10. Easter Bunny and Bluey will be there. A couple big time shout outs here. The school musical, Mrs. Warner and the students and the entire staff. I can't go on about how good it was. My wife is big time into musicals, and she was literally on the edge of her seat, enjoying every single second. You could see the work that Miss Warner and the team put into it. Every single student, they nailed it. So I'd like to give them a huge shout out. Tonight, right now, we are in the midst of missing it, is the third grade performance of the road trip across America. So Miss Myler, our music teacher at the elementary, they are over there right now singing their songs. As I got to see the rehearsal, so didn't really miss it. But again, I told her today, I said, it is an incredible feeder system, the way that she is working with them. They're playing instruments, they're doing set changes practically. Her and her music program has done great work with these third graders in just only half a year. So, and even shorter than that, quite honestly, by the time they started and selected their songs. The PTO Carnival. Number one, shout out to all the volunteers, all the parents that got involved. $10,000 plus was raised. Huge, big shout out to the donations for the raffles. So practically every single business, I think every single business up and down Main Street here into New Albany, we were able to partner with a couple other businesses through the joint chamber piece. So we were actually able to procure a couple other basket donations there. So PTO Carnival was a great time this year. Seemed better attended than last. And again, when you talk about what Johnstown is seeing, Ryan was standing around with you with about 4 or 5 other dads, Bob, you same time, and our kids were in there, no threat, no issues. Everyone was just having a good time, and it was outstanding event. And last but not least, I mentioned it last meeting, Paul Rosser's memorial tree taken care of through the council. Also got a commitment finalized through the American Legion family. They're going to handle the funding for a memorial bench that will be installed at the elementary. Talk with everyone from that side as well. So that'll be in the higher mulch area. So it'll be a memorial bench and the tree there for Mrs. Rosser. So,
And it was awesome to see her husband at the carnival, stepping in for where she left off to take her place. So it was really neat.
absolutely.
Mr. Stainer, do you have anything for other business?
I do not.
Chief or Teresa? Hearing none. Mr. Delandy? No? Okay. I make a motion that we move to executive session to prepare for a collective bargaining strategy to include city council, the city manager, and to Dave Rubenhoff. Will he be?
Rubenhoff, and then I would also recommend your
Mr.
choice, Dave Delandy.
Okay. So include Mr. Rubenhoff, our attorney, by phone. Is that true?
Correct.
Okay, and Mr. Delandy. And then also, can I include this, Teresa, as one motion?
Yes, one motion.
And then also, to executive session to consider the purchase of property with council and Mr. Stainer.
And Mr. Delandy as well.
Mr. Delandy, too. Okay, and Mr. Delandy. No business to follow.
Second.
Motion.
Is that Dave?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Barnard,
Yes.
Wes Coble,
Yes.
Dave Seelan,
Yes.
Bob Orsini.
Yes.
Ryan Green.
Yes.
Tiffany Hall.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
You.
Distinguished elected official amongst our presence tonight, the Honorable Joseph Robertson.
Came in late.
He was looking around. You said that, he
Late,
looking around.
so you get a late.
Oh, it's his mother's birthday. Stepmother's birthday.